Are we up? Okay, so great to see everybody tonight. We are live tonight on the live stream. So I've been looking forward to this night for many different reasons. Most of y'all got to know Ryan Brewer at our church retreat, who did a fantastic job talking about lament, the spiritual discipline of lament and suffering. And so we've invited him back tonight for a Q&A, and we've asked Ken to be involved with that tonight as well. Ken, of course, is one of our elders. So Ryan is a Redeemer Fellowship, and he is a sneakerhead. Is that still true? You just wear the shoes. Okay. Part of his story. Part of his lament is not being able to play basketball any longer. So Ryan is a part of a church plant that I've heard about and known about for some time with Craig Brown and others. And so we've enjoyed getting to know Ryan, and it's been a blessing to hear his story, his journey. For most of y'all, who was not on the retreat? So some of y'all were not. Ryan may touch base on a couple of details of his story. Most of y'all know about Ken's story, and for the rest of us, so many things are fresh for us in terms of struggle, suffering. We all have stories about that. Of course, Connie and I have the story of the loss of a son. We have currently now a dear friend and a family member, Elise Hilpert. Tom was going to be here tonight, but they've got, emotionally, their plate full right now. Elise has been diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma in the hip, and she's in her day 3 of chemo. So we're praying for Elise, and of course y'all know Alana is her sister. So as we start, just a blessing upon Elise, and we pray healing over her body. We pray healing over Tom, over Ryan, over all that we love, over Tom Hilpert with his constant pain that he is in. And Joe, thought about Joe today. I think Wade mentioned Joe, who plays guitar for us up here, who is in constant pain, so a blessing upon Joe as well. And any of the rest of you who suffer with things and ask God, why is this going on? So Lord, be with us tonight and bless us as we share our time. So I'm going to invite Ryan and Ken to come on up here, and we've got 2 mics for you guys. This is a kind of omnidirectional mic. Whoever sits here, it just kind of picks up. You don't have to be right up into it. There's a lot of ways to get started. This is designed as a Q&A, so I'd like all of us to involve ourselves in dialogue or in asking questions. And I'll prompt questions if we need to both of you guys. I'd like to start by reading Psalm 22, and I've asked Jessica to do that. So if you would pull that up. There are psalms that are psalms of lament and petition. So different psalms have different purposes. We all know that. It's like having a hymnal. You know, if you have an old-fashioned hymnal, you can find songs of communion or songs of praise and worship. Well, it's the same way in the Psalter. You can find different sections of the Psalter dedicated to different things. And some of the Psalms are what scholars refer to as Psalms of lament and petition. So listen to this psalm as we begin, Psalm 22 of lament and petition.
My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? O my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. In you our fathers trusted. They trusted, and you delivered them. To you they cried, and were rescued. In you they trusted, and were not put to shame. But I am a worm, and not a man, scorned by mankind, and despised by the people. All who see me mock me. They make mouths at me. They wag their heads. He trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. Yet you are he who took me from the womb. You made me trust you at my mother's breasts. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, and there is none to help. Many bulls encompass me, strong bulls of Bashan surround me. They open wide their mouths at me, like a ravening and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. For dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far off. O you, my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my precious life from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion. You have rescued me from the horns of the wild oxen. I will tell of your name to my brothers. In the midst of the congregation I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All you offspring of Jacob, glorify him, and stand in awe of him, all you offspring of Israel. For he has not despised or abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, and he has not hidden his face from him, but has heard when he cried to him. From you comes my praise in the great congregation. My vows I will perform before those who fear him. The afflicted shall eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him shall praise the Lord. May your hearts live forever. All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of the nations shall worship before you. For kingship belongs to the Lord, and he rules over the nations. All the prosperous of the earth eat and worship. Before him shall bow all who go down to the dust, even the one who could not keep himself alive. Posterity shall serve him. It shall be told of the Lord to the coming generation. They shall come and proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn, that he has done it.
So thank you, Jessica. There's a lot in that psalm. Of course, we hear what the New Testament did with that in terms of Jesus and his sufferings. And so I've got all sorts of things already in my mind from that psalm I'd like to ask about and have you guys respond to. But before we do that, would both of you take just a couple of minutes and just tell us a little bit about your journey with suffering? So Ryan, I'm going to start with you. And we heard a lot of this on the retreat, but just give us an overview for the 4 or 5 folks that are here who weren't on the retreat about what some of your journeys looked like.
Yeah. Well, I think it probably started when Jesus saved me. 2010, I came to faith, sophomore in college. First couple of years of walking with Jesus was relatively easy. And then I got married in 2016, and that's not like a correlation. There's not like something there. And my first bout with anything health related came 4 months into being married when I almost DKA'd, which is diabetic ketoacidosis. Then I found out I was type 1 diabetic. And that was the first year of marriage. Second year of marriage, my wife almost, second year of marriage we got pregnant. My wife had an ectopic pregnancy. This was not shared, and that she lost 3 liters of blood and should have died. She bled out for a week. That then left us for that was 2017, 18. 2018 was like a normal year. 2019, we moved here to Nashville. That was its own bout of suffering for us. It's like coming into the wilderness here, but I had no idea it was going to be. 2020 happened, COVID, and that's when the pain started for me. It started late 2020 in my feet, then migrated into my feet and my hands. Then it was all across my body, and then the weight started to shed. I started to gray, and for about 2 years had no idea what was happening, but I was shriveling and like dying, essentially. It wasn't until 2022, June of 2022, I finally got a diagnosis for Lyme's disease. By that point in time, I could barely walk, and my hands were barely working. Ended up with a walker for about 7 months, and then have slowly, just over time. So anything that comes up at this point, for me, it just feels like the last 9 years have been nothing but pain in various degrees and ways. I could say a whole lot more, but that's kind of where we're sitting at today.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, give us an overview of
Your story.
1984, I was working as a police officer in Southern California, and long story short, I tried to arrest a guy who was strung out on a combination of different drugs that made him super strong, impervious to pain, and really didn't want to go to jail. So I was fighting Superman, and I was by myself. It was at shift change, and I got hurt really bad. Didn't realize how badly I got hurt until the next morning when I woke up and I couldn't feel the right side of my body. Thought I'd had a stroke. Rushed me to the ER. They did a bunch of tests and x-rays and stuff and couldn't detect any broken bones. Back in 1984, they, of course, didn't have the same kind of medical technology that they have today. Didn't know what was going on, so they gave me a bunch of painkillers, a bunch of anti-inflammatories, and sent me home and said, rest. Found out later on that all of the muscles and tendons, soft tissue from the base of my skull to my right shoulder had been torn when he tried to pick me up. I had a handcuff on him, and he picked me up off the ground and ripped all of that stuff. Doctor said that the only injury like that he'd seen was when a steel worker fell off of a building and he grabbed a beam on the way down and it ripped everything. So from that point, there was a lot of soft tissue damage, nerve damage, and since then I've had constant pain in that area of my body that results in migraine headaches, and that's what they call them. They call them migraines when they can't figure out what it really is. But it's just constant pain.
And I would say probably once a month you have to take a trip to the ER.
Yeah, we were just there not long ago.
Yeah. Okay. And Ryan, you've got a disability on your left side or right side with your hand and arm?
Yeah, it's just acute at this. It's just at one part. That's why I can't really move this shoulder, this elbow. This hand really doesn't work all that well.
Yeah, you can hold the Bible.
I can hold the Bible.
Yeah, with that hand. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're still diabetic.
Still diabetic.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that one's going away.
Okay.
Lord, maybe. But yeah, I need the insulin.
Okay.
Insulin or I die.
Well, I've got all sorts of questions to throw to you guys, but I'm going to start with y'all. Just as y'all thought about both of these stories since the retreat with Ryan and, of course, with Ken, is there any question any of you guys would like to start with? Or I can throw one out to you guys. While you're thinking, I'll come to you and just say, I'll bring you the mic. So, the charismatic tradition, so Ryan, I don't know that you would classify yourself as a charismatic, but you're familiar and you are open to the gifts. And Ken, you've been a participant in the charismatic stream. The idea of suffering and lament is kind of a foreign thing to many charismatics, right? So the Catholics and the Anglicans seem to really have a grip of, or a theology of suffering, and the charismatics do not. So Ken, I'll throw this out to you just to start off with. What has this done to your theology, your charismatic theology? So you still believe in the power of God, the presence of the Lord?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, but has anything, what else has happened since you've been through all this?
I can tell you that the Lord has taught me things through this experience of pain that I would never have learned had I not gone through what I've been through. Just as an example, there was one time when we were in the ER, and we would worship on the way to the ER. We'd put on worship music, and we would worship. There'd be tears coming down my face because of the pain. And we would be worshiping on the way in because the Lord was near. And so it was difficult, but we could feel the presence of the Lord. This one time I was in the ER, I was laying on the gurney, and Kelly's breathing, just the sound of her breathing literally hurt so badly that I had to ask her to step out of the room. Of course, she's crying. I'm crying. I'm there by myself now because the doctors haven't come in. And they came in, they ran their tests, they pumped me full of drugs, they sent me home. 3 days later, I'm driving down the street, and the Lord taps me on the shoulder and he says, "You remember what happened 3 days ago?" And I said, "Yeah." "Where were you?" "I could not feel you in the room. I could not sense your presence any longer. I cried out, and there was nothing. And I was devastated. I was all alone. I was just completely gone." Felt like Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me?" He said, "What you experienced, Ken, was a whiff, just a whiff of the cup that I drank deeply from on your behalf." Oh my goodness, I started crying all over again. He did that for me. And what I experienced, that separation that I experienced in that ER just for that small amount of time, was the separation that people are going to spend eternity experiencing because they've not received him. That changes a person when you learn a lesson like that. So my experience with suffering has been one of learning about myself, learning about my God, learning about how deeply he loves me in spite of the pain and because of the pain.
So Ryan, I'm going to throw this question at you, and then after that, just hand the mic around. Recently, that Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? I was talking to somebody that I know pretty well, and they were disturbed by my theology with that, and they said Jesus he was teaching when he did that. He was not experiencing that as separation from God. How would you as a pastor respond to that?
On the spot.
Yeah, now,
Yeah.
so yeah, go ahead.
How would I respond to that?
Yeah,
That he
yeah.
was teaching, but he
If you,
wasn't
yeah, if
experiencing
someone said
separation from God.
he was not feeling God's abandonment in the midst of his suffering, but he was using it as a teaching opportunity. So as a pastor, how would you respond to something like that?
Well, I'm like working it out in my brain, the deity of Jesus and the Trinity at that point. Well, one, I would probably affirm the intuition towards a teaching moment. I would say, yeah, as an example to show us how to suffer. But, man, Phil.
What does it say about Jesus? The Trinity and humanity, I guess.
Yes, okay. I was wondering if I could go into the Christ's human reality to which it does not affect his standing as far as being deity. So everything, I mean, even the book of Hebrews talks about him being perfected through suffering. As you were talking, that's what I was flipping to, because that's how I understand anything that I have to go through via union with Jesus. If I'm really united to Christ, then therefore I would have to suffer, because he suffered. And so in that moment, from a human standpoint, he went to the depths to which you and I, if he had not become human, would experience for an eternity at all times, which is the very reality of never being present with God, ever. Completely separate. Had Christ not experienced in his humanity the abandonment of God to which you and I usually feel when chaos, uncertainty, suffering comes upon us. So on one level, it is a teaching of like Jesus himself experience the abandonment that you and I are very acutely aware of whenever suffering comes and we ask, why, God, why are you doing this? And on another level, it's comforting because there's a certainty that you, even in your abandonment, are actually not abandoned. Because he said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Yeah.
So there's something about our faith that suffering is at the core of it.
Certainly, yeah. Paul in Philippians uses that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no Christianity without suffering.
No.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to hand the mic around. So here's Mary.
Can you talk about your relationship with anger and frustration in regards to your suffering, and what's your conversation with the Lord look like in regards to anger?
Ken.
I've had an anger problem all my life. But I'm not angry at God for the pain that I go through. Mostly because I recognize that it wasn't God that caused this. Now, could he take it away? Sure, he could. But he chooses not to. It says in Romans 8:28 that God is going to use all things for good. Now, he doesn't define what the good is, but he's going to use all things for good. So do I trust him? Do I take him at his word? Do I recognize that this is not the end of my story? And do I hope in the redemption of my pain? If I do, if I trust him, if I really do, if that's where my faith is, then there's no room for anger at God for what I'm going through, because he's using it to perfect me. So, do I get impatient? Yeah. Do I whine and complain and tell him I'm tired of this? Yeah, I do. Almost every day. Take it away. I don't want this. But anger? Nah.
Man, you're a better man than me.
I've been at it a long time.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good Lord. Yeah. Jesus, help me. Yeah. I would say not in competition to what you're saying, but in just in honesty. Oh yeah, I've thrown it at God a few times. Anger is, I think for the longest time, through maybe my upbringing, through different things, have viewed anger very negatively. So therefore, if I'm angry, I sin. And I think you can sin in your anger, for sure. But I think what going through pain has shown me is that if I send it to the right thing, towards the right thing, i.e. God, in all of it. I'm angry at you because you're allowing this to happen. I know you can do something about it. I'm angry at the fact that this world is the way that it is. I'm angry that I can't pick up my kids. I'm just angry. When once I would have shoved it, pain forced it to not. I couldn't shove it anymore because I didn't have any room for it. I would be angry with God. But it's in being angry with God that it actually gets transformed or redeemed towards passion, in the healthy sense of anger. When you're really angry for the right things, you're passionate about it. So you become passionate towards the injustices and the pains and the brokenness of the world, and you also, in some ways, learn compassion because you become somebody who can suffer with someone else. So in a lot of ways, I've had to relearn over the last 3 or 4 years what it means to be okay with being angry and knowing that God can actually handle me throwing my anger at him, towards him, anywhere in the vicinity of him, and sometimes even blaming. And there are moments where I think I'm landing at that point of it's not him. if I really believe what James talks about, he doesn't do anything evil. Like, he can't do anything evil, but he can handle me being angry the same way I would want my kid to be angry at me if I were to do something that they just didn't understand and they knew that I had the power to change it for them. I would want them to be angry at me, and I would want them to come to me with it. I wouldn't want them to go somewhere else with it. That's when it becomes destructive.
Yeah.
But it's only when our anger comes to the right thing that it can actually be transformed into that passion side of things. So I think, yes, you should be angry. And I think the only way you can be angry and not sin is by taking it to God in trusted Christian community as well. And it becomes passion.
Yeah, the Psalms are full of expressions to God about, David was,
Right.
he was ticked off many
Yeah.
times. And he'd go to God and he'd say he was.
Yeah.
There's always the turn at some point in the
Yeah.
Psalm.
And I always think that happens within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I read the Psalms and I'm like, yeah, you did that all in one sitting. Like, that's how you read it, right? You're like,
Right.
shoot, he got all the way at the end of that. I don't know how you got there. I'm not anywhere near that. But you think it's like that psalm may have been written after about a year, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
It's almost in reflection at that point. But I think it's like in real time. So then I begin to disregard my current scenario, my current suffering, or even my humanity to try to be something I'm not. I mean, we've all experienced a Christian cliche. Like, God's got this. You'll be okay. Trust God. Yeah, trust God. And at the same time, be super pissed off that this is not happening. Yeah. So, sorry, this is live, right? I'm a pastor.
Not the first time that's been said.
Okay.
Guys, who else?
I think also probably relate to the last question a little bit. But just generally asking, what is the relationship between honesty, pain, and hope? I generally think that hope grows only as much as how honest we are with what hurts. But that's just a question to you guys. I'd like to get your thoughts on it.
The relationship between honesty, pain, and hope.
Can you explain a little more of what you're thinking?
Yeah. Yeah. So generally, what you're just talking about, not disregarding what you're going through now for the sake of pretending that you're okay. Like being honest with your pain now, and then what is the relationship between honest pain, feeling it now, and then honest hope? And then what's the difference between a fake hope and an honest hope versus a sort of a pretending like you're not in pain versus an honest pain? And then how do you walk through that, being honest with your pain, which allows you to be honest with your hope?
I don't understand how you could be dishonest with your pain. Because pain is pretty real, especially when it's really severe. So it's not like you can pretend that it's not happening. There have been nights when I've been in so much pain, I've just asked Kelly, just get my gun and shoot me. Seriously, I've said that because I just want it to end. And so that's brutally honest. And I've wept in the midst of my pain. I've wept tears and asked the Lord, just take this away. I can't handle this anymore. I don't want this. And he doesn't. Then I have to ask myself, am I okay with that? I don't like it. Honestly, I don't like it. And he knows I don't like it. I've told him enough times. But I don't know. As far as hope is concerned, My hope is in Christ. My hope is in what Jesus has been able to redeem for us. That this is not the end of the story. No matter what I'm going through, that the light and momentary affliction verse really irked me. It didn't feel light and momentary. It never does. But that's how it's characterized. So if that's the case, I know how much this sucks. If Paul says that's light and momentary, oh my goodness, we have no idea what's coming. Do I believe it? Yeah, I have to.
That's good. Pain is no respecter of persons, so you can pretend as long as you want to, but eventually you'll lose the wrestle, you'll lose the battle. So the opportunity, I think, as C.S. Lewis once said, that God whispers to us in our joys, he speaks to us in our conscience, but he screams at us in our pain. So you have an opportunity in the moment to be honest or to not be known. And that goes back to the most fundamental question in the garden was, where are you? And it is only in being known that you can truly hope, right? As if not, it's like a pipe dream. It's this pie in the sky reality. Because if you look at the person to whom you're united to, Jesus, in every moment, would you assume reading him, or was he pretending? Was he not showing up fully, to be fully known and fully loved with everyone that he interacted with? So you can, and we do pretend, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be weak. It's embarrassing to need help. I won't say a name. On the drive here, I had someone text me and go, "Can you help me?" And I immediately called them, okay, what's going on? That's an alarming thing. And as they were talking to me, they said, "I really am not good at asking for help, and I've been doing the last 6 years alone. And so I'm trying now." Enough pain has come to where it's I can't do this anymore. And so pain forces honesty, and I'm not writing scripture, but I think Paul would have wrote this. Pain's going to force your honesty, and honesty and hope live together, in a true sense. The more you're honest, the more the Spirit will actually cultivate the true and better hope. How else will you believe? Paul says in Philippians, I seek to not only obtain the resurrection, but to also partake in his suffering. So it's both things have to happen. The hope of the resurrection is out there, but the path to resurrection is always going to be suffering, and that's hard. So it's either you get honest, or you, as my counselor told me, he goes, you'll either get honest with what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, or you'll die. And that might not be physically die, but my heart will shrivel up, essentially, is what he was getting at. Internally, you'll become a hollowed out person, because you're not dealing with reality. Is that helpful? Okay. Yeah.
Trying to figure out how to phrase this. I guess I figure there's probably there's an ideal for how you would like to walk through whatever pain day by day, but when you have a bad day or a really bad day, how do you navigate giving grace to yourself in that bad day, whether it's, whatever self-medicating you can or can't do, whatever control you have, without, I guess the line between grace and license. How do you allow yourself to have a bad day and show yourself grace for that, and and also go, well, I'm so in this right now, well, it's okay for me to do this and have license. How do you navigate that?
Again, I like you going first.
You remember when I said that God has taught me a whole lot through this pain? He continues to do that, because I'll have a bad day. And work has been difficult lately. And the stress of work creates problems physically for me, because they're all tied together. So I've found myself getting angry at people at work because they're not doing their job, or something's going on, and I'm getting angry. And I went to Kelly and I told her, I said, I don't like the person that I'm becoming as a result of what's going on at work. And this isn't directly related to pain, but it ties into it a little bit. I could make excuses that the reason I'm getting angry is because I'm not feeling well, and the pain is making me short-tempered and so forth. But the truth of the matter is I'm sinful and I'm prideful, and the Lord is using that to bring that to the surface, to show it to me and say, look, Ken, this is what's going on here. It's like, I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to give myself grace. But I think it's important in terms of the honesty part. It's important for us to be honest with ourselves. If we press into what it is that the Lord is putting us through, and we turn to Him and we say, what's going on here? And He shows us something that we don't like about ourselves, we got to own that. And for me, lately, it's been my attitude. It's been my poor attitude. And so He's using the circumstances, whether it's the pain, whether it's the pressure at work, whether it's whatever it is, to refine me. I don't like it, to be honest. But again, that's my pride that's showing up. And so I've got to relinquish that. It's not easy, but that refining process never is. I don't know if that answers your question.
When do you feel yourself when do you give yourself license? When you feel sorry for yourself? Yeah. I mean, that's real. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I had something, but then I was so in listening to what Ken was saying that I kind of forgot about what it was. But I think it goes back to the way in which where do you go with the pain? Like, where do you go with the emotion? Where do you go with the pain? And I think two things have to probably happen, at least experientially. And this is descriptive, maybe, not prescriptive. This is how I've at least experienced it. One, wake up with pain again and again and again. Do I go to God with it? Like, do I go to Him with whatever I'm feeling, however I'm feeling about it? Do I feel sad? Do I feel angry? Do I feel guilty? Like, did I do something wrong again? Do I feel lonely? Usually lonely for me is one of the things. Like, this feels really alone. If I am not like ruthlessly taking an inventory, like emotionally, about what I'm waking up in, and then going first and foremost to God with it, then I'm already behind the 8 ball, and license will become very easy. Second thing is, do I have people? And do I have people around me that I can go, hey, this isn't it today. Like, I don't got it, and here's why I don't have it. And will they be able to not try to fix me? Because that's usually the first thing that happens, and one reason why we hide is because you go to somebody with your pain and like what you're struggling, and they maybe in and of themselves cannot handle what you're experiencing, and so they go to whatever tools and resources they have. And usually for most of us, it's like, how can I alleviate this pain for you? So how can I fix it? So first going to God with like that, what am I feeling? Is it just sad? Is it lonely? Is it angry or whatever? And being able to go to somebody else with that. Those are probably the first 2 steps. And if I'm not doing those things, then license, I could probably gut it out for a couple days, weeks, but eventually what's going on internally by myself will be co-opted by the reality that I'm fighting sin. It will be co-opted. I'll be hiding. I'll be doing it in my own wisdom. I'll be doing it alone, and therefore license will become a lot more easy to feel, to relieve and to alleviate. Whether that becomes sexual sin, whether that becomes lethargy, eating, to feel something, to feel like I deserve that I need, like, you kind of get where I'm going with it? Yeah. So I think that those first 2 things are a real choice in the power of the Spirit, and they're not perfectly worked out every time, but that I think God has met me personally in those 2 things to keep me from going into a license sort of reality of like, okay, I deserve this. I'm in pain. I can be a jerk to my wife because I'm in pain. No, I'm not allowed to. But if I'm not taking an inventory with God and with other people, then I'm not even going to be able to tell her why I'm treating her like crap today. And it has nothing to do with her. And that's a whole nother choice of license, I suppose, than what we would usually think. But I think that makes sense? Yeah.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if y'all can, like, y'all are doing like a really good job on like answering the questions as quick as possible.
Thanks.
But I was going to ask if y'all can also ponder on this one too. What if the suffering that you have, because like I've learned just from hearing y'all not healing experiences, that we almost went through like the same type of experiences, just different ways. But I was going to ask, what if most of your life you feel like you're abandoned? And then also, what if every time you try to ask for help or go for help, nobody wants to be there because your pain is too much for them? And also, the last thing, what if the person that you love the most, after they died, you can't touch the scriptures no more? So for me, my grandma on my mom's side passed away. This would be 2 years ago in September, and I haven't read the scriptures for 2 years. And every time I pick it up, because I touched her body, my arms gets freezing cold. And the last time I had an iPhone, I have an Android now, it would overheat out of when I just go on the scriptures. So I'm just afraid to read now. And I'm afraid to even go on YouTube just to listen. So those was my questions. It just alone, just fear, just have alone in me.
What's your name again?
Freddie?
Freddie? Thanks, bro. Seriously. That took courage. Like, really did take a lot of courage to ask that. What do you feel in here?
What do I feel in here?
In here. In this space with these people.
Well, first, these are earbuds.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to Christian music, I guess.
Yeah.
But listening to the music, listening to all the questions, and the way that y'all answering it, and also, like I was telling the pastor, I was actually going to walk in my neighborhood. Out of nowhere, while I was singing to the sky, I heard a voice to go to a church. And then out of nowhere, I heard a voice telling me to stop. And I looked over and I see that y'all lights are on. And I see, and online it says that y'all are closed for like a whole week. but something told me to go inside. And then that's when I saw 2 people inside. And I'm not going to lie, while y'all was talking, I don't know if anybody caught me, but I was, like, right now, I'm shivering, I'm shaking, not out of coldness, but because I want to cry, because I don't feel at home, I don't feel safe anywhere I go. I'm tired of surviving. I just want to feel at peace. And I always had to survive since I was a little kid. And sometimes I just want a family.
Can one of y'all talk about loneliness and suffering for just a second? And then, Freddie, would you be okay if we say a prayer for you? Okay. So would one of y'all comment just on the loneliness of what suffering brings in your own lives?
Though suffering is a universal experience. No, sorry, forgot about that. Yeah, though suffering is a universal experience, it is unique to you. Because you are the only you in the entire universe. What I mean by that is, like, there's no other Ryan, there's no other like me, as in who I am and who you are. And so in one way that's extremely difficult, because we're meaning makers, like we need to make meaning out of what's going on, how things are happening, and then to realize and the way in which suffering and whatever forms that we've experienced it, apart from God and apart from the reality to which God has brought his people into, it will always feel like isolation. It'll always feel alone. And that that's not sounding super encouraging right now. But where it shifts and where it changes is when you do exactly what you just did. You named it in this place with other people, and you've heard other people who have had experiences of pain in life and have named it in similar ways, though not the same as yours, and something that God is beautifully doing by one himself suffering to the point of death and then resurrecting, is that he is drawing people into himself through that suffering, so much so that even if you perceive that you're alone, you feel that you're alone, when you are united to Jesus, you are never alone. Hebrews says that he has suffered like us in every way. So not having a family, not having a home. Jesus, when he was crucified, had no one there. His mother and father, yes, his mother looking on, but he was alone, utterly alone. He had nowhere to lay his head. He had no home. He left the only home that he knew to be in a place to which it was foreign to him. So he had no home. And in so many ways, he also too took on the coldness of loss and death. And again, back to Psalm 22, the forsakenness, which in so many ways is what it kind of feels like when we don't want to touch our Bible anymore, is because you don't want to, we feel forsaken by God. And why would we want to go to the one thing that could have changed everything for us, you know? I'm not saying that's your experience, but so all of that back to loneliness is, I think, a unique way in which at least I've experienced it in the midst of this, is that again, naming that I am alone and looking at Jesus and saying, you too. Like you too. Like, you know what it feels like to be alone. And something, and this is the mystery of the faith, of being united to Jesus, being found in Jesus, being a part of him, is that he comforts in the midst of aloneness. And a lot of times that comfort looks like exactly what just happened to you tonight. I keep using you as an example while I'm talking about my own self, but you hear God say something, and you get courage to do something. Whether for me, it's like I feel scared to sit in front of all y'all and talk about something I feel woefully unqualified to talk about, or hey, I remember a moment when I didn't know if I was going to live. I didn't know what was going to happen for my family. I couldn't get a job. Like, it would have been better for me to die. And I showed up in a room of well-to-do pastors, like, who had it all seemingly together, who were not suffering. They weren't coming into a pastor's meeting with a walker. And they're going around the room, and you have an opportunity to be dishonest. Be like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. I have a walker. I'm not fine. I'm not good. I'm struggling. I'm surviving. I'm tired of multiple years of trying to survive. And the only thing that came out of my mouth was, I'm scared. I'm scared. And I wept. And as I wept, they put their hands on me and they just prayed. And for a moment, for that moment, I didn't feel alone. Even though they weren't experiencing what I was experiencing, I felt seen. I wasn't alone. But it took the courage to say that I was. And then God showed up in that way. And he shows up in that way in so many different ways. Kind of like stumbling into a church that says it's closed and you're here. So that you might not, in this moment, you would know that you're actually not alone. Yeah. Sorry. Ken?
That's good. Freddie, we're all built to desire friendship, family, fellowship. And when that's taken away from us and we feel like we're all alone, it can be one of the most discombobulating experiences in our life. To be separated and to feel alone is how Jesus felt when he was on that cross. He went through exactly what you're feeling, that aloneness. What you've experienced, though, is the God who loves you has directed you here tonight for a reason. And that's to let you know that you're not truly alone. God is with you. And as much as the enemy wants to keep you away from the Word of God, that can be your source of life and comfort, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Meaning, God's strength is greater than that. And you don't need to be afraid of picking up the Bible, because God's power is greater than the power that's keeping you away from his word. So I would like to pray for you. I would like to have folks come around you and lay hands on you and to pray for you, because the family that you seek is the family of God. The people of the church that care for one another, that support one another, that came around Ryan when he was in that pastor's conference and he said, I'm scared. That is how we support one another. That is how we help one another. We do it in community. So can we do that for you?
Could we finish our discussion and then pray for you at the end? Would that be okay with you? So I'm going to take Freddie home at the end.
Okay.
So since we're online, let's go ahead and see if there's any more questions. And then I would say in about 10 or 15 minutes, we'll wrap this part down.
Okay.
We'll pray. So does anyone else have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
So I have some insider information.
Hold it like that.
I have some insider information. So Ken's mentioning that he's becoming angry with people at work mostly. And I've known you for 41 years, and I would have said your attitude was awesome, except for this last couple months with these people. So I was wondering if the two of you could talk about maybe a progression of what the Lord's doing in your life and how it's changed and refining you throughout the years.
That seems really personal to you.
I know it does, doesn't it?
Well, no, I
think I'm off the hook for this.
no, I don't think so. I think
No.
that God's been working in you too.
How has the Lord been working in the progression? I've been on a journey with the Lord of, and I've said this several times in church, I've been on a journey with the Lord where he is constantly asking me, Ken, do you trust me? From the very beginning when we rededicated our lives to the Lord after we'd wandered, had our own desert experience, and the Lord brought us home and we came back to the Lord together. Ever since then, he's been asking, Ken, do you trust me? And it's like, at first it was like, I don't know if I trust you or not, to be honest. And so it's been this progression where the Lord would show me something, and it would bolster my faith and cause me to trust him a little bit more. And then something else would happen, and he would present the question once more, Ken, do you trust me? So for me, it's all about trust. And over the years of doing that over and over again, I've learned that he's trustworthy. And even when he calls me to do hard things. So I think I've grown impatient these last couple of weeks. And maybe that's been my change of attitude, is I've grown impatient. I don't know, I trust him. I don't know if I trust me. Because I make dumb decisions, and I get angry with people, and I lose my temper and at people, not at, I mean, behind the scenes, I don't say it out loud. But the progression, I think, for me has been that the Lord has been refining, he's been whittling away and refining, and there's still some big things that need to be changed about me. And like Brian said, he yells at us in our pain. I'm a pretty thick-headed guy.
I know.
Yeah, I know you know.
You need a megaphone. So you're asking about sanctification, essentially? Like, is it
How the pain is,
is it linear? I wish.
how the pain helps with this.
Oh yeah. If you ask me in the moment, I would say absolutely not. But if you were to ask me looking back 2 years from now, I wouldn't recognize the person that's sitting here in front of, like, I can't believe half the stuff that's coming out of my mouth. Like, and so in many ways, yes, like I think pain is your greatest teacher. And the hard-headedness and stubbornness of all of us in different ways, and even the culture that we live in is avoidance of pain at all costs. And that's just not the way of Jesus. And Paul is so spot on when he talks about it is utter foolish, like it's utter foolishness. We believe in like a crucified and resurrected God. It's utter foolishness. Why would we not think that it's absolutely wild and crazy that he would use pain to redeem us and to change us? So yeah, I mean, in the moments, if I were to just kind of look, it's kind of like your 401k. When they first tell you to put money into it, it's like, don't look at it every week. You're going to get discouraged because it doesn't move. But you look at it 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, and you're like, holy cow. I think that's the trusting God part of the thing. It's like the continued deposits of, like, yeah. She got a question, Bonnie. Phil, she's got a question. Right there. No, right there. What she got? You got it. She's got it. She had her hand up first. I'm like total teacher mode right now.
How do I get into this? I was listening what this young fellow was saying about pain, in the subject you're on about pain and loneliness. And I've get torn, my heart is so badly torn so many times. I got harassed last night at 12 o'clock in the morning. What I'm trying to say is I'm getting severely life threatened. But what can you do? It's hard to give it over to God, to let Him take care of everything when it's the pain is too much. There's only so much you can handle. And I cry and I pray, Lord, take it away, please take it away. But it just seems like it's like, and I say to myself, Lord, all this is too much. I can't handle this. It's been over 3 years that me and my sister go through this. Because I am being badly harmed. They wanted to call the police on me last night. I said, call the police. I ain't starting anything. I just want to sleep. Because they want to move me to another client house. And I said no. Thank God electric came back on, But I don't feel safe to with any of the state people, actually. If they're going to put me in another room or another apartment, I already know I'm not going to sleep, But I feel very stressed. And it's like I can't never sleep anymore. I can't focus anymore. I can't even get the right kind of help anymore to work. And it is scary when I get on the highways, and I am very scared. I wonder, Lord, what's going to happen to me? Anyone could easily pick me up, but I do pray when I get on the highways. But the question I'm trying to get at is, I can go to church. I could feel at peace, or at least strive to try hard to find a peace. I don't feel peaceful yet. And I trust everything that my dad had taught in the Bible, just try to memorize. But then I think to myself, is there something I'm missing, or God, I'm trying to do the right things, but I just want some truthful, righteous answers. I want to hear the Holy Spirit. And I have not heard it yet. And I feel like this felt, everything's taken away after a person dies. And it's just hard to feel that kind of joy that you once had. And I just want to feel belonged. I miss not having family, especially when I can't ever see my sister anymore. It's like, are we ever going to be together again or never? You almost get tired where you just get tired where you just want to just give up. And I just pray that it comes to an end. Because I do work hard. I am hurting myself. And I'm trying very hard to fight for my sister. I just don't know why things just feel like the doors are not opening yet. It feels like it's just getting worse and worse. Like if you need help, they just look at you like you're crazy, or they can't handle, and then you don't get the right kind of help you need. And you still try to pray, but loneliness is the worst thing. Try to stay strong in your face, but I'm twixt in between, and my heart is badly torn. I try not to act like it, but it does hurt inside. I'm trying to look for peace. I'm trying to look for I just want to start fresh. I just want to have a normal, healthy life and remain together. I just what all the bad things that my mom has done would just finally come to an end. Why should we have to endure this much pain just because they wasn't in their right minds? And people don't listen to me anymore, and I want the truth to be out. It hurts me so bad when I'm telling the God's honest truth, and it just puts you through pure hell.
Tasha, are you okay? Can pray for you too?
Yes, please.
Pray for
I've had a bad night.
Mm.
both you and Freddie. So thank you, Tasha. Why don't we do a couple more questions, and then when we end, we'll pray for both of y'all. I'll pass it over to Jessica.
So my question is, I think when I have experienced suffering in my life, my temptation is a sense of entitlement, to feel like God owes me something, that he owes me reward, really is what it boils down to. You know, I grew up in the church. My parents were Christians. I said the sinner's prayer when I was 5, baptized when I was 7, never walked away from the Lord. And so when I entered that season of my life and had that dark night of the soul, my anger was, I don't deserve this. Like, I did what you asked me to do, and this is how you repay me. So I'm curious if you guys have struggled with that as well, and how you have handled that. And it strikes me that it's really kind of a modern problem, because it used to be that suffering was just assumed, that everyone would experience it, and it didn't create this theological dilemma. But anyway, that's my question.
Well, we all have an innate sense of fairness built into us because it's from the Lord, right? He's going to balance the scales. He collects every single tear, he says. None of it's wasted. But we're not going to see the end of it this side of eternity. We're not going to see those scales balance this side of eternity, unfortunately. And so, for me, in those kinds of situations, the Lord says, Ken, do you trust me to balance the scales? Will you let me handle that? I don't like it. I've said that a lot tonight. I don't like it, but I do trust you to do that because he is just. Does he owe me? Oh, heavens, no. No. That's, I don't want to go there. You know, I know what I deserve because I know the type of person that I am. So I don't think, but I understand where that comes from. And yeah, there's going to be a balancing of the scales at some point in time. But I think that theological dilemma that you're talking about is a close cousin to the charismatic streams of faith, where suffering is not something that we're supposed to experience. And I think through discussion tonight, I think we discovered and determined that that's not necessarily the case. Suffering is a part of the package. In fact, we learn through suffering. We're refined through suffering. And so I wouldn't necessarily encourage people to run towards suffering, but I wouldn't necessarily run away from it either. The most profound lessons that I have learned have been at the point in time when I am suffering severely and I'm really just brutally honest with the Lord, and I say, what is going on here? What are you doing? I don't understand this. Talk to me. Tell me what's happening. Sometimes he answers and sometimes he doesn't. And it's in the times that he doesn't when I have to trust the most. But sometimes he does tell me what's going on. And it can be comforting. A lot of times it's not. But for me, it boils back down to, do you trust me, Ken? Will you let me handle it?
We're so much alike. I agree with what he said, but we're so much alike. Like, yeah, what are you... Granted, I didn't get to grow up in church in the same way, but like, I think I'm conditioned in a certain way to expect a certain type of results.
Yeah, I think our culture tells us that.
Yeah.
Too. Like,
It does.
Yeah.
do the steps and make the right decisions
Yeah.
in your life.
A plus B equals C. Yeah. Right.
Well, the disciples said that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, what caused this? Whose sin
Yeah,
was
who
it?
sinned?
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Who sinned? Is it him or his parents? Neither. Well, I think that's the thing. I think there's two sides. There's two sides to it. And I haven't thought deeply about this, so maybe somebody else in this room has. But it just kind of dawned on me. The Lord disciplines those whom he loves.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I think discipline can feel like unwarranted suffering, like in the sense of like disease or pestilence or sickness or the chaos of the world. And I don't know that I'm tuned enough yet to know the difference between God's discipline on me because he loves me, and not discipline in the sense of like a dad who's mad at you, but in the sense of like, I want you to be holy. I want you to be more like Jesus. And that can come by the chaotic uncertainty of suffering that comes, and that can come by discipline, come by wilderness journey. I mean, I guess we can take Israel as a prime example of like their sin brought them into the wilderness, but at other times they lingered there even after repentance as a discipline to continue to get Egypt out of them. So I haven't thought deeply about it yet, but it kind of dawned on me. It's like, well, I mean, maybe he loves you a lot more than what you think, and there's a level of discipline happening there and then I thought about grace. Like, we're grace people, right? Like unmerited favor. Like you get what you don't deserve. That's what Jesus did, right? But I only think of grace as a good thing. Like, I get the Christmas presents. Like, my parents are going to give them to me no matter what. And I think in the economy of the kingdom and the way that God is working out his kingdom culture in this world is that it's also a grace when you get to suffer.
Yep.
You get to suffer for the sake of Jesus. And that's so hard. Don't hear what I'm not saying, which is like that you should, or like that there's no compassion there, but I'm just processing my own stuff, and it's like that's also a grace too, because I'm not dead. God is still keeping me and sustaining me and moving me forward. And so on both hands, and somehow in the mysterious way in which the kingdom works, both good things that come our way, and also even again, back to Romans 8, he works all things together for good, and that all things includes our suffering. And I think suffering is a grace that makes me sick. Even saying that, if I be honest with you, it feels really insensitive as my sister.
And
counterintuitive as my sister here cries about pain. Like, it feels sick for me to say that, but then I have to filter myself through the lens of reality in Jesus' reality, like what he experienced and what he absorbed in his body, and that he resurrected and that he is making all things new is reality. So I have to continually work myself through that lens. And it doesn't make sense to me, and maybe my heart will catch up, and maybe one day I won't feel entitled that God needs to give me a Ferrari, you know, because I like read my Bible for weeks on end, or like that I need that. There's so many things there. Yeah. No.
We're going to move toward wrapping down unless somebody else has a question they want to ask. You do want to follow up?
So you mentioned kind of at the beginning about Christian cliches.
Okay.
And how maybe not helpful they are. So I have been trying recently to, when someone comes to me with suffering or pain, to not respond by trying to fix or trying to smooth it over or trying to just say, trust God, he's got it. Like, not the platitudes, right? Okay, so my problem that I've encountered is I have nothing else to say. And so I just sit there and I look at the person and I am sad. Mm-hmm. And they look at me and they're sad. And then it just gets awkward because they're like, I'm so sorry that I unloaded all of this on you. And then I have to explain, no, really, I'm glad you did. I just don't want to make light of this moment. So I'm just sitting here and grieving with you. So I guess my question is, what is a helpful response? Are there things that I can say or do that are compassionate and truly helpful?
Yeah, that's really good. It does feel awkward, and I think it's case by case. It's person by person. It's like, what do they need? Because compassion is, if you break the word down in its etymology, is to suffer with somebody. So it's exactly what it's to be able to enter into their suffering, like thinking like a doula, helping a woman birth a child. Like they're in the whole thing. They're not experiencing the same type of labor pain, but they're with them, encouraging, coaching, sometimes just helping them breathe. Like, just think about all of those possible things that could happen there. And that's essentially what we become for other people in being compassionate. So even just crying with them, letting them apologize over and over again, because so many people feel like, oh, I'm a burden to you. The freest thing that I've ever felt is just somebody sitting there letting me cry, and then just saying, can we pray? I don't know where they're at. I don't know if the people you're interacting with are Christians or not, but like there's an opportunity there then to pray, and pray however you want. But again, at that point, it's like you're taking it to the person who actually can fix it. But I think it's case by case, and I think it does first start with presence, just being present and being able to hold the space. Yeah. And that's over time, like a learned thing. So I think in a lot of ways, like, keep going, and the Spirit of God is actually going to teach you what to say, when to say, how to say, what not to say. Yeah, I think that's really a good instinct.
The best answer that anybody ever gave me when I was talking to them about my pain was, man, that really sucks. You know, they didn't try and fix it. They just identified with what I was going through and said, man, that stinks. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I remember Job's friends. They did really well when they didn't say a word. sometimes that's the best thing we can do for someone, is just sit with them in it. Weep with those who weep.
And buy them a sandwich. Like sometimes just go with your gut. Like just buy them something. Like, take them to dinner. Just like, just to know that you're not alone is a lot of things. Yeah.
And I love what you said, basically I'm hurting and I don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to respond right now. I love you. And anything I say sounds like a platitude, So I think that was a great response.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap us down.
Alana, did you have a question? Oh, okay.
This is great.
I was going to answer yours too.
Yeah.
I helped a lot of people, like mostly online, from suicide, and like I've also tried to commit suicide before too, but as Ryan, right?
Yeah.
As what he said, it's mostly like just empathy, but at the same time, if you don't know what to do, like what everybody else is saying, if you don't know what to do, like the first time I ever tried to help somebody and they needed help, out of nowhere, I just told a joke, and out of nowhere they just started laughing, and it made their pain feel like they was wanted instead of they was unwanted. So sometimes the emptiness of not knowing what to say, because like, yeah, they might be in a different religion or whatever, sometimes the emptiness of not knowing what to say, everybody has a common ground of what to do. So if you can find a common ground, even in your soul, like empathy soul, then you'll understand who they are. That's all I have to say.
That's good, Freddie.
So I want to say thank you to both you guys. Ryan, thanks for driving over. And Ken drove a long way to be here, but he normally does that. So one feeling that I've got is just the gratitude of being present when honesty is being displayed. No platitudes, this is just my life. This is what I'm going through. I think there are times when God does pull back the curtain and show you something. And often, as you guys said, there's no way of knowing. You just trust that God's at work in it. One way that God's at work tonight is we're going to pray for